I want you to know right now, going into this video, that I moved something on my desk and I saw something scurry away in this direction. So somewhere behind all my bottles on my desk here is some sort of little critter. And I want you to know that if it appears while I am recording this video, I will probably scream and freak out before I kill it with this shoe. Can you tell by my overall aesthetic today that I'm just, like, excited for summer to be over? Like, I like summer. I definitely, as a person in a wheelchair, I prefer the hotter weather to, snow. Because snow makes my life way harder than it needs to be. But I just feel like September, October, that's when I come alive. That's when I come out of the woods and I'm like, I'm here, I'm ready, let's live. Because I love fall and I love Halloween. And I was at the dollar store the other day and they already have their Halloween displays out. And it was like, I felt myself awaken and I was like, yes, let's go. I'm ready. So I have a couple of different things to talk about. I'm going to talk about some more, like, lifey stuff first, and then I only have a couple of makeup things to talk about, but if you want to just jump to that, leave the time code where that stuff starts in the down bar again, so that you can just jump there if you would rather that. I don't blame you if you don't want to hear me just jibba-jabba for a long time beforehand, but I'm gonna do it anyway. August in Canada this year was basically just entirely about the Tragically Hip. Now, if you're not Canadian, the Tragically Hip are like a Canadian rock band, and in late May, their lead singer, Gord Downie, announced that he has terminal brain cancer, and then I guess he was like, let's go on a last tour, and it obviously was like this huge thing, right? And I think my favorite thing about this is that even people like me who don't really consider themselves Tragically Hip fans, like, I don't know, like, I've heard the songs before, obviously, but I just never, it's not the sort of thing that I, buy on iTunes and put on my phone and that sort of thing, but I did like them, and it just kind of really felt like it just pulled everyone together. Like, everyone was watching the CBC broadcast of that last concert, everyone was, like, trying to get tickets to go to the show themselves, that sort of thing, and my favorite thing about it is that, for the first time ever, something happened on a big scale, and I didn't really see any negativity about it on social media. I didn't see anything other than, like, kind words for Gord and, positive things for the Tragically Hip, and I just really feel like that was such a really important, big event in Canadian history, and I'm so excited to have been a part of that, both with the CBC broadcast, attending, like, a big streaming of it here locally, and then I actually did get to go with a friend of mine to see them live in Toronto near the beginning of the month, and that was really fun. I was kind of worried because I'm not, like, a huge fan of the band, right? So I was like, I'm gonna hate this, it's gonna be terrible, but no, it was so much fun. I'm really, really glad that I went and I got to have that experience, because, like I said, I feel like it was, like, a big, important historical event in Canadian history, so yeah. And then media-wise this month, even though that kind of counts, I really feel like it'd be wrong of me if I didn't mention Suicide Squad, because every year I kind of start out with a list of movies that are coming out in that year that I have to see. And there's usually not very many movies on this list. Like, this year there was like 4 or 5, and the only one left is actually Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. That's the only one that hasn't come out yet. So Suicide Squad was definitely on that list. I was very excited, and I started getting terrible reviews, but I was like, whatever, it's okay. Everybody hated Batman v Superman, and I really liked it, actually. And unfortunately, I do kind of have to say that Suicide Squad was, like, really underwhelming. I feel like, here's the deal about Suicide Squad. Let's be real for a second. I feel like they had too much to do in this movie, first of all, because none of the characters had their own standalone films, so they had to give you the backstory for each of these characters. And the Suicide Squad is pretty big. Like, there's, like, 5 or 6 of them in there, so that took, like, forever. In the beginning, when they're introducing the characters, like, it just kept going on and on and on. So that was, like, a little too much, I think. The story just really felt very, like, mishmash, and didn't really feel like it was put together properly, and I don't know if that's a script issue or an editing issue. There are definitely issues with both, but it just didn't feel the way I wanted it to feel. Whenever I'm watching a movie, I notice myself, usually like 45 minutes in or half an hour in, I'm like sitting there like this, and I'm really into it, and I'm really into the characters, and I'm really into the story, and I noticed that, like, maybe 45 minutes to an hour-ish into this movie, like, I was looking around the room in the theater and, like, watching what other people were doing, and other people were, like, on their phones. Like, it didn't engage the audience the way that I was hoping this movie would. It didn't ever really pull me in. And I realized that this might be a little bit controversial. It's not everyone's favorite thing, but my sister actually said this, and it was perfect. Like, she was totally eloquent with it. So, Sam, I'm going to steal this from you. But the problem with when you have Will Smith in a movie is that it becomes a Will Smith movie, He kind of dominates, and, I mean, Deadshot's an important DC character, don't get me wrong, but he's not, like, the DC character. When I think of Suicide Squad, it's, all of them together, and they all should get kind of equalish importance, and I just feel like there was Will Smith, and there was, Margot Robbie, and that's it. And I just feel like maybe the focus was a little bit too heavily on Deadshot. Maybe I could just be saying this because I love Killer Croc and he had like 2 lines in the whole movie, but it didn't feel like, if you're gonna have an ensemble cast that big and that great, it should have been a little more even. I gotta give props to Margot Robbie though, because that, I feel like that's one of her like first big like bull movie roles. Like, she's been in other stuff, but this is like her big moment, and she does Harley Quinn fabulously. She's so good. I don't think anybody else should ever be Harley Quinn other than her. And she's like a really good actress. If you can make lines like, Norman was just a setting on a dryer, or whatever that line is, or the other one is like, duh, we're the bad guys. Like, if you can make stuff like that look natural and like something someone would actually say, props to you, Margot Robbie. You get my full support as Harley Quinn. 10 out of 10. I feel like if they just didn't rush the editing process as much as they did, they could have made it so good. Alright, so away from that, now I have 2 skincare things to talk about. Now, I bought this Clinique eye cream because my sister Sam, who I'm mentioning again, she got like a little sample of it from Sephora and was like, Abby, you need this. And I mean, when your sister tells you you need something, you need it. So this is a Clinique Pep Start eye cream, and I'm not really super versed in the world of eye creams. I've only tried a couple, and none of them have really been like earth-shattering, but I really like this one. I really do feel like it fills in lines under my eyes and just kind of smooths everything out, hydrates it, but it's not greasy, and I just really like it. This is a great eye cream, and it's not too expensive. It's like $30, and this is going to last you for forever. And I actually keep mine in the fridge overnight so that when I go to use it in the morning, it's like nice and cold, so it'll help reduce any puff. And when you squeeze it, it just comes out of this little ball on the end here, and then you can smooth it around on your under eyes, and I really like this. I don't use it at night, but I definitely use it in the morning, and I just feel like it creates the perfect canvas under my eyes for concealer. Now, this next product that I have to show you is something that maybe I shouldn't be including in my favorites video because I've only had it for about like a weekish or 2, but I do really like it, and I bought it for a very specific purpose. And it does really well for that purpose, so that's why I'm going to mention it. But first I need you to understand how my Sephora shopping experience is much different than yours probably is, because I don't live in Toronto, I don't live in New York, I don't live in, Metropolis. There's not 6 gajillion people going into my Sephora. There's a lot, mind you. My Sephora is very popular, but there's regulars at Sephora. And as much as maybe younger Abby would like to hope that she would be someday, I'm not really the kind of person who blends into the background very well. I'm loud, I'm clumsy, I'm a little bit obnoxious, and I'm in a big pink wheelchair. So, people figure out who I am so they can prepare themselves for when I arrive places. So I go into my Sephora, and they all kind of know me pretty well. And actually, there's a couple of girls that work at my local Sephora who follow my YouTube channel. Hi, Joe! But anyway, I was in there the other day, and I was talking to them about how I can do my makeup and my skincare, and it's all great, but then usually, like, half-ish, 3/4 of the way through the day, my skin really loses its moisture, and I get kind of like crepey looking and dry, and I just want something that I could take out of my bag and spray my face with to kind of revitalize it. And I mentioned last month the First Aid Beauty Spray, and I really like that, but I told you I can't use it over makeup because the spray is just not a good spray. So I had a Caudalie one in my hands, and one of the girls who worked there talked me out of it and talked me into the Jurlique Rose Water Balancing Mist. And this is the travel size version, so this one's like half the price of the big bottle. I think I'm just going to keep rebuying the travel size version, to be honest. But it's got a expiry date on the bottom. I didn't realize that. It's only good for a year. I feel like I'm going through this really fast because the pump is very controllable, and I'm not used to that. I'm used to the First Aid Beauty one, and it's like you have to push that one down all the way. But this one, like, I push it down all the way and end up with like a totally soaked face. So just be careful, like just a little bit. And the mist is very fine. It definitely spreads like it evenly. It's very nice in that regard. And it really does just feel like it revitalizes my skin. And actually, the other day, I was wearing just like one of my regular foundations that I wear, that I'll talk about in a second. And I had this with me at work. I keep it in my purse now so that when I feel that way, I can just kind of, and then we're good. And I did that. Someone was like, wow, your skin looks so good today. And it was like, yes, it does. The only thing is, it is a rose water spray. So if you don't like the smell of roses, this is a very, very strong rose smell. Now, personally, I'm not a fan of rose smell at all. Like, Cass was right, roses smell like poo-poo, but I would rather have soft skin and have to smell roses all day than, the alternative. So, with that said, I really like this Jurlique spray. I'll do a hair thing next, because I never ever do hair things, but if you watched my Get Ready and Go when I went to see Demi Lovato, I was looking at this hair mask at Lush that was, like, expensive, and I was thinking about buying it, but I didn't buy it because I was afraid it was going to go bad in the car. So a couple weeks later, my sister, Sam, again, oh my God, Sam, get out of this video. And she was going back to Lush, and I gave her the money, and I wanted her to buy it for me. So this is the mask that I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce, but it is spelt like this. I feel like if I even just try to say this, I'm just going to totally butcher it, and it's going to be really embarrassing, so we're not going to try, but this is a really great mask. Sam said in that video that people on the internet said it smells like salad dressing, and it kind of does smell like salad dressing. Be warned of that, and basically what you're supposed to do is put this on dry hair, leave it on for minimum 20 minutes. Sam leaves it on overnight. I usually only leave it on for a couple of hours. And then you just wash it out like normal, and you just wash your hair like normal, and it definitely helps make your hair like softer. It smooths everything out, makes it a little bit shinier. I really like it. The only thing is that I've been reading up on it, and people on the internet seem to say that this whole tub only gives them 1 or 2 uses, and I've already used it 4 times, and I have a lot left, and I have a lot of hair. So I don't know how much they're using. I'm using enough to coat my hair and definitely like really saturate it, but I'm not like glooping it everywhere. So I definitely feel like if you're smart with it, you know, you can get a fair amount of uses with this. Just don't be wasteful. So I actually only have 2 makeup products to talk to you about in this video. One's a foundation and one's a primer, and they're both from the drugstore. So I really wanted to try the L'Oreal Pro Glow foundation. I am going to do a review on this at some point, but here's the thing about this. Is that I used this, and it was one of those foundations that I did not like it by itself on me at all. But I could feel that it had potential. I was like, somehow I'm going to figure this out, and I'm going to love it. And so it took me some fiddling around. So if you're basing a foundation's worth on what it's like by itself, I don't like this at all. But if you're willing to make it work with the right products, it's really, really great. So my problems with this foundation are, I really feel like it accentuates my pores, and I'm talking all over my face, like especially around my mouth. I was looking, you know, like Swiss cheese. My other problem with this, which I have with all longwear foundations, is that it really dries out the surface of my skin. You know, I really look crackly and gross. Even though it's glow, it was not doing the right thing. So I had to find some way to moisturize, and I had to find some way to blur. So that Jurleek spray that I mentioned a second ago is how I kind of rehydrate my skin a little bit throughout the day, and that fixes that problem. And then as far as pores go and smoothing my skin, that is the other makeup product I want to mention. The Maybelline Master Prime by Face Studio Primer in Blur and Smooth. If you are a watcher of my channel and you have been for a long time, I've also used the one that is green and it's for redness reduction. And I've also used the one that's purple, and that's the Blur and Illuminate. And I have loved all 3. So this line of primers gets a, thumbs up from me. I really like it. It's not my favorite primer ever. I don't really have a favorite primer ever. I am looking for one though. So if you have primer recommendations for me, please let me know, because I would love to find a primer that I love. But until that day, this is a really great, inexpensive primer, and I really like these 2 together, coupled with some sort of spray over top to help keep my skin hydrated. That sounds so extra, like that's so much work just to have skin that looks super nice, but honestly, it's worth it to have skin that looks nice, And so yeah, that's it for me for the month of August. As you're watching this video, if you're watching it the day that I uploaded it, I will be in Toronto at Fan Expo. I'm very, very excited. Fan Expo is like the big thing of the year. I look forward to it all year long, and so I haven't actually figured out which costume I'm wearing on the Friday yet, but on the Saturday, when I go with Emily, who is Wench Fairy here on YouTube, I'm going to be the Joker, my female Joker costume, and I'm very excited for that because that costume is so cute. And then as far as the rest of September, really September for me is just October prep. It's pre-October, it's pre-Halloween. So getting, a lot of Halloween stuff, together, prepping some very special videos that I have planned for you for October. So that's basically what my September looks like. What did you love in the month of August? I would love to hear it. Make sure you let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you click thumbs up and you subscribe if you have not subscribed already. I will see you next time. Bye!